Okay, I think we can start. Welcome everyone to this training. And let me share the screen in order to kickstart. First of all, let me thank you, first of all, Elena Marchiori that led this training with the guests that we will have today, Janine, Videva, Lorenzo Fanetti, and Giacomo Monti. And now I have the presentation. Okay. So today is a training organized by Dagorà, which is the leading house managing the Innovation Booster Fashion and Lifestyle program. And we will focus on how to testing desirability. But first, I would like to give an introduction and explain a little bit what is the Innovation Booster program and what is the state of the activities right now. First of all, we are happy that from this year, the program sponsors we have some nice addition for companies that decided to support the program. So we have Alpha Square, Seven for All Mankind, Guess, which is the new sponsor, Heads of for Excellence as well. And the ones already present last year, Hugo Boss, Microsoft, OF Design, Philip Line, the Lifestyle Tech Competence Center, Logitech that joined as well this year, and UBS for supporting the activities of our program. So first of all, I'm Daniele Panato. I'm the Community Development and Innovation Booster Director. And what is the Innovation Booster Program? So first of all, the Innovation Booster Program is an innovation program powered and financed by InnoSwiss, the Swiss Federal Agency for Innovation. And it's a thematic financial instrument offered by InnoSwiss, among many others. And we have 7 different innovation boosters in Switzerland active at the moment. And ours is focused on the fashion and lifestyle industry. And it's an open innovation program, thematic, as said, science-based, looking for radical innovation in fashion and lifestyle. And the objective is to work in the very first steps of the funnel of the innovation in trying to understand what are the challenges of the industry to be solved, where innovation can be created, and try to capitalizing on this also large network that we have in Switzerland about a lot of companies working in the sector and how to build this radical innovation in order to identify, first of all, what are the challenges to be solved, and then how we can instill new potential innovations and testing those ideas with the support also of academia partners in order to be more solid than to build real impactful innovation. And each year we award up to 10 ideas with about 28,000 francs per idea to prove the potential of those new hypotheses. And we develop our program, first of all, in 2 iterations of these kind of stages, where we start each year with an industry workshop. In this case, we had one on the 5th of February, where we gathered experts from the industry, brands, university professors, investors, and try with design thinking methodology. We discussed what were the pain points and challenges to be solved in order to tackle the real problems that the industry is experiencing. And then on February the 12th, we open with a webinar the first call for challenges of this year, on which we will take a look later. And currently, until April the 21st, we invite all interested parties to apply to that call and join the program. It's very simple. For any doubt, please reach out to me or Michele, which I will show the contacts later. And we just require an hypothesis, so a few lines on how you might tackle a certain problem described into the call for challenges, and then the nice part, the creative part, will come at the workshop Challenge Your Ideas that will be held in Lugano on May the 5th, where we gather on different innovation teams with the objective of exploring what are the problems, to understand more those problems and what is behind those problems, and to co-create within the teams, co-create these potential new ideas. Then those ideas will be pitched for the ones selected to a dedicated program jury, and the jury will decide who gets the funds. Usually the jury is able to award up to 5 ideas per iteration, so a total of 10 ideas per year. But of course, it can slightly vary in case, for instance, they will award 4 in the first iteration and 6 in the second. But overall, we have a maximum of 10 ideas that they can be awarded. Apologies for the presentation. And then for the ideas awarded, it starts the test implementation and learn phases, on which today we will focus with the help of our guests to understand how to properly test, in this case, the desirability part. In order to also explain how the innovation teams that I mentioned are formed, from one side there is a research partner represented by university or research institutes based in Switzerland and recognized by InnoSwiss, and on the other hand, what we call an implementation partner, which is basically whoever has a legal entity based in Switzerland. It can be from an NGO, a foundation, an association, or a small medium company, a startup, or a large enterprise. And also international partners can join, as long as at least one implementation partner based in Switzerland is present in the team, and the main beneficiary is always a Swiss legal entity for legal reasons, because we are talking about public funding in this case. And what is the output of the funded ideas is to test one of those areas with a proof of concept, feasibility studies, market assessments, or desirability testing, on which we will learn more. And desirability is if the area on which we will explore if the final user will need or want this solution. So it's about the demand side of the idea. Viability is about the business model of the idea, so how it can be commercialized or implemented in the market. And feasibility is the technical or physical way to create it, to make it possible. And so far, the status of the program is that we are at the 3rd years of activity. The Innovation Booster Fashion and Lifestyle is running from 2024 to 2027. And so far, we allocated more than $500,000 to innovation teams to test those ideas. And currently, 71 projects were received by the program, and 8 Swiss universities are currently testing the potential of those ideas. And we also have some nice examples of successful stories from a large enterprise of VUF Group, which focus on a very traditional material of fashion, which is wool. How to innovate this traditional material to make it more resistant, but at the same time more sustainable. Then we have Sartic, awarded as a Shootify, that after testing the feasibility part and desirability side on how to create with the Gen AI content for the fashion industry, received more than 2.1 million pre-seed round of funding, which is a clear message that the Innovation Booster wants to kickstart these potential ideas, and definitely seeing that success in some of the projects make us proud and make us very happy in order to support the evolution of potential impactful ideas that would potentially transform the industry. And on the other hand, also we have a nice example of a social innovation idea that is being currently tested, which is called Streifen Goes Circular. In Switzerland, we know that the little kids are wearing those Streifen, but they are still provided without thinking about a circular mechanism about that. And the project is aims to revolutionize a little bit the supply chain and the durability of those items in order to make them more sustainable for whole Switzerland, in order to save for the environment, but also have a social impact. And a brief mention on the pitch jury. The pitch jury is first of all composed by permanent members and temporary members, which will be updated for each year. And for each call, we try to pick up the best of experts in research, business, and society that are the ones that decide who obtain the funding. And we are talking about between more or less 10, 12 to 12 members. And also we try to pick the right people for their expertise based on the topics and themes of the call for challenges. And also they are responsible to do the shortlisting. So after the co-creation workshop, if fortunately the ideas many times are numerous, they will trim them down to about 12 ideas that can fit the day of the pitch day, in order to decide then for the 5 awarded ideas for each pitch day during the year. I would also like to remind you and have a little bit of information about what is radical innovation. I mentioned that the Innovation Booster Program aims to find new radical innovative ideas, but what does it mean, radical innovation in this case? So radical innovation is more of a transformative concepts on the innovation funnel. Let's say that incremental innovation is to pick up an existing solution and makes it better, makes it to make it more efficient, more fast, more convenient, but it does not change the way how the problem is tackled. On the other hand, radical innovation is to pick up and solve an existing problem with whole new approach, whole new a new path to try to create an impactful change on that. And so it goes beyond minor improvements or minor modification, and also change the way the technology, the business model is done, potentially creating new areas of markets or whole new markets. And we have many examples. Even though, of course, even for our experts, it's always difficult to understand if it's radical or not, but it's a beautiful debate because it encourages to go beyond the first impressions and look for really impactful innovation. And also an interesting thing to mention while we are talking about radical innovation is about radical and disruptive innovation, because more often we hear, oh, it's a disruptive innovation, or it's really disruptive. But what does it mean, disruptive? When we are talking about the difference between radical and incremental, we are looking at the problem and the solution. So how the problem is tackled, so how the solution is formulated, it can characterize how an innovation is radical or incremental. On the other hand, the impact that the solution has on the market could determine if that innovation is disruptive or not. So we cannot judge or call an innovation disruptive before it hits the market. We can only understand it and evaluate afterwards. So when the iPhone came to the market, it disrupted the whole market, created a new way to use the mobile device, and that's disruptive. But we could have not foresee that before. It's only an analysis that we can do afterwards. And in order to potentially have a disruptive innovation, we need to aim at the most impact at the beginning, but we are not sure. Nobody can be sure of the impact that can have on the market. And also today we are understanding something that we are striving into the Innovation Booster program to stay firm and to take a pause, to create a space to reflect also about the problems that we are solving, because there are it's nice to look behind the idea and deal with the underlying problems, so the problem that we need to solve, but also it's interesting and it's very useful to look beyond the problem and deal with the underlying assumptions, because when we decide to solve the problems, many times we are affected by biases, by heuristics, thoughts that limits our potential and creative potential to tackle the problem in a creative way. And if we can really understand what's behind, and today we will explore how to understand what is the demand behind a certain innovation, the impact for sure it will be much higher. And what are we standing now in terms of the program? At the moment, as said, we are on the first call for challenges. The submissions deadline are until April the 21st. The co-creation workshop will be on May the 5th here in Lugano at Dagorà Lifestyle Innovation Hub. And the pitch day, always at Dagorà, will be held on June the 17th. Let me remind you also the participation at the co-creation workshop is mandatory. And the first call for challenges is about technology and also with topics of sustainability for the fashion and lifestyle industry. If you're interested to learn more, please contact us. We are happy to have a call to explore together the topics to see if there is any matching on that. And also, if you already submitted an idea and or you see an already submitted idea, you want to join the team, we are also facilitating the matchmaking between the two parties. As said, we need to have at least one academic member and one company member. Let's say implementation partner can be a company, can be an NGO, but on that side, we need both of them present at the co-creation workshop. And it happens that you can freely submit an innovation hypothesis as an academic representative or an implementation partner representative, but then you need to find the counterpart, and in that we would like to help you. So if you see, of course, an idea you would like to join, we are happy to help. And on the other hand, we can support you in any case to clarify anything. So for the moment, I thank you and I pass the word to Elena.
Thank you, Daniele. Thank you also, Michele, for having us. So let me share my screen. There we go. Super. And let's start. So good afternoon, everyone. So together with me, there is also Janine, Lorenzo, and Giacomo. We will meet Lorenzo Fanetti from Unguess and Giacomo Monti from Vans in a moment. But we will start with presenting just a few words about myself and then Janine. So my name is Elena Marchiori. I'm working for the city of Lugano, for the Lugano Living Lab, which is the digital innovation lab of the city. And I'm also a lecturer at USI, Università della Svizzera Italiana, teaching the topics of usability and digital analytics. Janine, what about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Janine Videva. Thank you, Elena. I am innovation manager. I've been working as innovation manager for Roche Diagnostics in the global headquarters in Zurich for the last 5 years, and since 1 year I'm an independent consultant, researcher, and I'm also teaching the topics of innovation, especially specializing in the first part of the innovation funnel.
Super, thank you very much. So let's start. So we have a quite dense agenda together. So during the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes, more or less, Janine and myself, we will deep dive into this concept of desirability. As Daniele presented you before, desirability together with viability and feasibility is part of our innovation cycle. But today we will deep dive into this concept of desirability, try to better understand what is this difference between discovery and behavioral evidence and why it is so relevant when it comes to desirability testing. Later on with Lorenzo, we will try to better understand how to test desirability using a professional tool. And with Giacomo from Vans, we will learn from him. We'll come back to the discovery part, into the desirability phase. And what about when we discuss directly with the community? Which kind of insights we might challenge our idea? So, as mentioned, let's start. Janine, are we ready? We start, or let's ask our participant to start?
Exactly.
So we will ask you, everybody, wait a second, there is not right or wrong answer, but we'll try to work together a little bit. So please write your answer or your answers in the chat. And this is the question. If you have just one afternoon, maybe after this call, if you have just one afternoon to test your idea, what would you do? Couple of minutes just to write your answer, what you have in mind. Janine, do we have already someone typing?
Not yet, but
not yet. We'll see. So just there's not a right or wrong answers. Let's try. We'll see.
Okay, we have one comment.
All right.
Find answers in the right field. We also have a WhatsApp group.
Okay. So most probably you're thinking something like that. So most probably you might thinking, or some of you already wrote discussing asking in a WhatsApp group. You have just a limited time and maybe a limited budget. Some of you might thinking to discuss with the AI, asking ChatGPT, or maybe writing a post on LinkedIn and ask for feedback, or interview with friends. Or maybe you're thinking to go directly to a place where you would like to apply the idea and ask directly people. So what if we place these initial ideas of testing in a continuum, in a desirability continuum, where we have the concept of discovery, and then at the opposite part, we have the concept of behavioral evidence. So let's focus in this continuum. And let's try to better clarify this part. When we are discussing with the AI, or discussing with our friends, or in a very limited group, like a WhatsApp group, we're still discussing people answering questions and see opinion-based feedback. We still have weak evidence here of our idea, but still we are in the discovery part. If we started to see, if you place, for instance, a post on LinkedIn or a poll on social media, you still just to check reaction on your idea. Still, we consider this part evidence, but it's weak evidence in the concept of desirability because we are in the discovery part. It's a little bit different when you started to deep dive in discussing with people and explaining real problem. You're going to receive direct feedback, deep dive into the developing your idea. Is when you are talking with potential user and when you are exploring with contextual interview, when you're observing how they solve the problem. And it's completely different when we are at the, let's say, at the opposite part in this continuum, where you see and you're testing when people are taking action. And this is when you have behavioral validation. Is when you see if you have, for instance, a landing page, you see if actually your potential customer are interested and they are taking, for instance, they are clicking on sign up, or they are using, for instance, or they are decided to commit with budget, with time, with a formal commitment. And this is where we have the concept of behavioral evidence. But Janine, please do you want to deep dive into this concept a little bit more?
Yeah, of course, of course. Indeed, as you said, Elena, right, in the discovery phase, we often start with this lightweight feedback. No, we ask friends, we post on social media, we ask ChatGPT, and all these methods are correct and they do generate ideas, but they don't really validate the desirability, and that's what we want to do, right? And so as we move forward now from this continuum, we continue now and we talk directly to users, we observe how they currently solve a problem. And that's where it starts to get more tangible now. And here we start really having this real discovery. But the final part is where desirability is, as we say now, is only validated when people take action. What does this mean? Is, for example, when they sign up to a landing page, when they join a beta, or even when they pay for the solution that we are offering. And that's when we can actually move from opinion to what we call behavioral evidence. And yes, indeed, as we see here, no desirability is the degree to which a problem is truly relevant for someone, and the solution is valuable enough to motivate a change in behavior. This is a very important point that I wanted to stress. It's really not just measuring and hearing opinions, but observing evidence of interest, of actual use, or of willingness to pay ideally. And yes, we talk about observable evidence, Elena. We talk about the different stages now to come to the evidence-based assumptions. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So if we have now this continuum, discovery and behavioral validation test, let's try to have in a more structured way, if you want, the level, the stages of evidence-based approach. In the end, with the desirability, what we are looking at is evidence-based information. So let's start with the first stage, the assumption part. So what it means. So in the assumption part, most probably you have this kind of situation. You are in a situation where you have internal belief only. Let's say this example. So for instance, you are working for many years in a specific field and you started to say, oh, I'm convinced that there is a need for, and etc. Or you started to have this assumption. I strongly believe that, for instance, artificial intelligence can enhance processes. You are convinced on that. You are based on opinion, assumption, or I'm in the hippo room. We will discuss later on with Lorenzo the hippo concept. Still, this is based, we will see later on, an assumption. You don't have still external validation. Let's see if you move to the other stage when you are at the discovery insight phase. So here we see the value, the role of the interviews. But still you are observing the problem. So for instance, you started to say, okay, I have discussed with several customer, or you say I visited 20, 30 stores and I noticed that, but still at the assumption and then the discovery insight phase, you are working at the discovery testing. Let's clarify the behavioral validation. We are repeating the concept of the continuum, but it's very important for us that today we will move and we clarify the concept of discovery and the behavioral validation. Because when you are working on customer, observing how customer, they are taking action regarding your idea, this is where you started to place a behavior validation. And to complete this evidence-based approach, you have the support commitment. It's when your customers commit resources. Could be money, could be budget, could be a formal agreement, for instance, letter of intent, for instance. And this is where you might consider this part as a behavioral validation test. However, Janine, tell me if I'm right. It's not that you run desirability once, right?
Exactly, exactly. This desirability is not something that we test once at the beginning of a project. It is continuously tested, right? It's tested throughout the entire innovation journey. Of course, in the early stages, in the stages of problem discovery and problem solution fit, we rely more on discovery methods, and we do more of desirability testing. We do more interviews, we do more observation and behavioral testing. And as the concept grows, as the concept becomes clearer, we move forward behavioral tests that show whether people actually take action. But yes, so next slide, please. As we talk about continuously testing, now we often ask ourselves, where do we start? And validating desirability is really about asking the right questions at the end of the day for each of the dimensions of desirability. So we do start with the right questions, but which are these dimensions? So desirability has three core dimensions. We talk about problem, the alternatives, and the added value. Across all these three dimensions, we ask ourselves what evidence, as you said, Elena, what evidence do we have, and what evidence can support this dimension? And for example, for the market problem, we ask ourselves, is there really a problem? Is there an important need that we are solving? And do we have in mind a specific segment? But there is another aspect to look at, the red flags. We also want to make sure that we are not offering some, or we are not talking about some vague problem, right? The next dimension is about the existing solutions on the market. So we want to learn and we want to make sure that we are covering how is the problem solved today. We are covering if there are real alternatives today. And also, if we ignore, on the other hand, the red flag, if we ignore the alternatives, we should not be ignoring also the underestimation of switching barriers for the users. So if we are only offering an incremental improvement with our solution, our users might not be ready to switch. Indeed, this is the third dimension. So if the value is incremental, if we are offering a small functional part of a product, probably our customers won't be willing to change. So as Elena explained before, for each dimension, we ask ourselves, is this an assumption? Is this based on interviews only? Okay, and have we observed behavior, and is there a commitment? And so how do we know actually if our tests are working? Well, we need to be defining a threshold beforehand. And I just want to stress the importance of this because, what does this mean? No, it's imagine that you're testing your assumption with a landing page and you're running an ad campaign to see how many people are clicking or interacting with your solution. Well, if you don't define beforehand what success looks like for you, for example, click-through rate of at least 2% means that people like what I'm offering. No, if you don't do that beforehand, you really risk to get into the trap of settling to every kind of result. So back to you, Elena.
So thank you, Janine. So the concept of threshold, it's we will see also later on with Lorenzo how important is it. Otherwise, we will, as you said, Janine, we just test and we don't know if we can move on, if it's too risky, if we can accept the risk to proceed with our idea, even if we receive results that disconfirm our assumptions. So having a threshold, it's super important in this when you are setting up your desirability testing. That will set also the way to interpret the result. Indeed, going to the conclusion of this first part, let's try to sum up the concept of discovery testing and the behavioral testing within the concept of desirability. Remember that if you're running desirability testing and if you are in the discovery test, it means that you are still at the level of understanding the problem. You are at the level of clarifying assumption. You have the classic popular method here. We are talking about the interviews, observation, you might have journey mapping, but remember you're learning what to test here. It's different, and let's say it will provide let's say a different insights when you are still in the desirability testing, but you are in the behavioral validation. This is where you're going to confirm the desirability. You are validating behavior, for instance, through specific tools like testing with a professional tool, for instance, your landing page, your prototype. You want to see, for instance, if your customer are willing to pay for a beta offer. This is where you are testing whatever your customers act on your idea. So, and this is also our takeaway for this first part of this presentation in the regarding the desirability, is the importance of the discovery that generates insights and the concept of behavior validation that generates evidence. But now let me share. Where is now? Let me share now this virtual stage with Lorenzo Fanetti from Unguess. And maybe, Lorenzo, if you want to say just a couple of words about yourself, that would be very nice. So with Lorenzo, we would like to definitely deep dive into the concept of using a professional tool for testing, but also we want to better understand what if we don't have a community and we want to discuss also with someone about our idea. So Lorenzo, please.
Thank you very much, Elena. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Lorenzo Fanetti. I'm CCO at Unguess, and today we are here in order to try to better understand how to move from opinion to evidence. And first thing, let me take a step back. How the decisions are taken right now in a lot of companies all over the world. They're taken by this funny animal, an hippo. An hippo is not only a funny animal, but it's also an interesting acronym. It stands for highest paid person's opinion, and he or she often rules the room. Hippo is also the first killer of data-driven innovation. And what's the alternative to data-driven innovation? It's opinion-driven innovation, the hippo-driven innovation. But this kind of innovation, this kind of decision-making is extremely risky. Why? Because, first of all, we fall in love with our own ideas. Internal feedback is rarely representative, and in fact, between 70 and 95% of new products fail due to lack of real demand. Desirability is in fact a market question. It's not about making decision to avoid conflict or avoiding decision to avoid conflict. So we have to take data-driven decision, but how this is possible? Through real user validation. So talking with our buyer and user personas. Target communities. Test with the people who will actually pay for the solution. As I just said, buyer user personas. Validate early. Check concept, features, and pricing before starting development. The sooner, the better, but for sure before financial commitment. Messaging check. Confirm that the market truly connects with the value proposition. And last but not least, data centricity. Turn, I think, into the data show for confident decisions. And now I know that some of you is thinking, probably, I have a lot of relatives, I have a lot of friends. Why don't I ask them what do they think about my unique idea? Stop. It's a huge trap. Why? Because their feedback is often too positive. They don't want to hurt your feelings or discourage your passion. It's non-representative. Your social circle rarely matches your actual buyer personas. Let me make an example on this. If you're launching a product for teenagers and in your social circle there are no teenagers, there is no match. So you can test with that social circle. Lack of criticism. It's great. It's the most dangerous feedback you can receive. Relational bias. They support you, but are we sure that they support the product? There is an hard truth. You need feedback from people who have no reason at all to be nice to you. So, if you don't have a crowd, a community, a panel, how do you validate the desirability of your idea, of your product? You will have to find a validation partner. And Unguess, the company I work with, is a validation partner. There are other validation partners. You will need to find the best validation partner for your needs. In my opinion, a very good validation partner could give you access, instant access to a lot of people, a lot of different people. So connect with specific verified target users across global communities with a multi-methodology approach. So qualitative and quantitative for a broader view of their feedback. A global reach. If you are launching your product in the US, you can't test it in Europe, for example. Also with an expert support, because, for example, we at Unguess, we ask thousands of questions to thousands of people every single day, so we know how to do it. So it's important to find a validation partner that can help you in order to structure in the best way possible the question you want to ask to your buyer user personas. In this way, it's possible to turn, I think, into the data shows with real-world feedback from actual buyer or user personas. So how it works, it's all about the community. For example, we have a community composed by thousands and hundreds of thousands, I would say, of people all over the world. They are highly profiled. So verified community filtered by specific demographic, behaviors, interests, needs. So your precise buyer persona. And they are highly engaged. Real people, real reaction. The community is active and ready to provide authentic feedback in less than 24 hours. So it's not about timing. It's important to test and you have to test using or better asking to real people. How? Through the platform. So we have this technology and the platform puts in contact the testers, so your buyer persona, your user persona, with our client. So it's about connection between these two areas. And before going further, I would like to share with you how it's possible to use this platform. So, for example, let's try to set up a desirability test with video feedback. So we want some feedback from a certain buyer or user persona about our idea, about our product. First of all, we use a template. In this case, we find a template for desirability test. We just decide where to save the activity, and we start. First of all, we describe the goal of the activity, just 3 lines, and then through artificial intelligence, it's possible to make the goal clearer for our crowd, our testers. And then, what are we going to test? In this case, we are going to test a website. So we defined the scope of the test, and now we have to select our buyer personas. So we are going to screen participants. 10 participants, for example, they speak English. We want people over 35, 60-40 male-female, with certain digital skills. In this case, we only want beginners. We can also add the geographic distribution. In this case, we are going to select only people who live in France. And if we want, we can also give additional criteria in order to make really precise our buyer persona. In this case, we are going to also add the information about the income. We only want testers who earns over 50,000 euro per year, and they are employed. As soon as the screen of the participants is done, we start with assigning tasks. It's all automatic, so we only have to create tasks through artificial intelligence if we want. So we can just describe what the testers are, what they have to test. So, brief description, and then we can generate tasks, as I said, directly with artificial intelligence. Just some seconds in order to understand. And now we have 3, this cases, and we can modify them also manually. In this way, we are ready to test with the right participants and with 3 cases written by the artificial intelligence. We start today, and in 24 hours, we will have this video to analyze from buyer and user personas. Okay, now let's see really quickly what happened as soon as we have the videos to analyze. So we asked to our buyer personas what do they think about our product, our service, whatever, and now we have some videos to review. We have 2 videos. Julia, we open the first one. We can re-watch the whole video, or we can read the transcript. Also, there is a artificial intelligence sentiment feedback. For each single paragraph, our artificial intelligence produces a dedicated sentiment with a brief description. We can also translate the script from any language to any other language. In this case, we are going to translate from Italian to English. And we can create manual observation. In this way, we are going to combine manual observation to artificial intelligence observation for a perfect analysis, both from artificial intelligence point of view, but also from a human being point of view. So, back to the presentation. Okay. Moment. Okay. We talked about the hippo, and now we are going to talk about the elephant. These are 2 animals that are probably often in our offices, and they are not welcome at all. We prefer them in the savannah, and this elephant is the huge elephant in the room. So many companies collect data only to ignore them when they contradict their internal vision. It's the dangerous habit of data interpretation. So looking for a silver lining in clearly negative feedback. Also, I have a tip for you. If you hear something like, we've already spent so much, we have to keep going, it's a huge red flag. As Janine and Elena said before, it's extremely important in order to avoid the hippo, the elephant, to define your thresholds before you test. So set the bar early, define minimum interest and conversion levels before you see the results to avoid bias. Make testing decisional. Data is only useful if it leads to a clear, predetermined action. Avoid data torturing. Don't manipulate the data until it says what you want to hear. Again, as Elena and Janine said, it's important to test desirability as much as possible. The sooner, the better. So desirability testing can and should be done at every single level of the validation journey, desirability validation journey. I just want to underline that if you are not doing it before financial commitment, you are really making a huge mistake. But as Elena and Janine said, the sooner, the better. And now let's have a look at 3 interesting epic fails. The first one is Google Glass. Impressive technology, but the market wasn't simply ready for the social and privacy implication of wearable cameras. Amazon Fire Phone, a feature-rich device built on the purpose to make people use more Amazon than solving a real unmet customer need. Segway overestimated the demand for a niche solution that failed to integrate to existing urban infrastructure. What's in common between these 3 really different epic fails? They prioritized, can we build it, over do people actually want it? And now an epic win. I'm particularly happy to talk about this epic win because it was possible also through our work at Unguess. And it's about Sky Glass. Sky wanted to understand the user's perception of a big household application, especially televisions, naturally. And we at the Sky get the information quickly and precisely. How? Through crowd testing validation. So we found their buyer and user personas, and we asked them a lot of questions regarding the product. The result, improved user experience, identification of the right target, seamless product launch through real-world data. This launch was a bit different from the previous three phases because it was not about we launch or not we launch the product. It was about how we are going to launch this Skyglass product. But in this way, they improved a lot the market result of the launch. So no problem during the launch, a perfect user experience, really an important market success. Last slide before Giacomo. Key takeaways. So first of all, data over opinion always. Don't ask if your idea is good, ask if people actually want it. Opinion is not evidence. Stop guessing and start measuring real market demand. Test early, test fast. Failure is much cheaper when it happens before development. The sooner, the better, but as I said, again, before financial commitment. Listen to the data. The market always has the final say. Trust the evidence. Thank you, and I pass the stage to Giacomo.
To Giacomo, exactly. Thank you very, very much, Lorenzo. In the meantime, I'm asking Giacomo to share your screen, and I'm asking you, Giacomo, to just briefly introduce yourself. And Giacomo, I should be.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Can see.
Sorry,
Okay.
Guys, for not being with you since
No, don't worry.
beginning
If you
of the
want to, yeah, don't worry. If you want to share your screen, Giacomo.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and then I let you also introduce yourself, maybe a couple of words about you. It was very interesting to see actually with Lorenzo a tool in action. We don't have the community and the power of crowd testing. But what about Giacomo? If we have actually the community, we have the chance to meet the community, to discuss with the community. We are in the discovery part of desirability. Please teach us what you have learned in advance from your experiment. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. Thanks all. A couple of words on what I do, who I am. I'm responsible for the e-commerce customer experience and merchandising at Vans EMEA. I hope you all know the brand. Vans is especially a footwear brand born in California in 1966. And then overseas expanded over the world. The office where I work is the EMEA headquarter, which is based in Stabio, so very close to Elena and the rest of the team. Can you still see the screen? Is it?
Yes, we are.
Good. Okay, perfect. Just give me a second. There we go. Okay, so the initiative that I would like to share with you today is a project that was called the Gen Z Lab that took place a year and a half ago. Like very briefly speaking, then we will see all the details as I move through the presentation. What we decided to do, as Elena introduced, is we had this big topic that we wanted to cover within the company, which was to get to know more about Gen Z, who they are, what they do, what they feel, how do they interact with our products and with the marketplace. And as Elena introduced, said at the beginning, it's something that is different from, for example, what Lorenzo shared, which is aiming more at like scale and deep quantitative data, and it's intermediated via a tool. In our case, what we wanted to do is something that is probably on the opposite side, which is very customized, very like crafted around our needs. Because what we did and what we decided to do was to involve students, 36 to be precise, to carry out a series of activities that we're presenting now. But the point that I want to make now is we really wanted to have a relationship with them. We really wanted to have them speaking with us and with our senior leadership to really think as they do ultimately. So We now have a video. I hope that you can hear the audio. If not, it's not a problem because it's just background music, but that is giving us an idea of what the project was about and will give you a more precise end-to-end of the execution. So
So we can hear the background music, but I guess you might say, Giacomo, that was a 2 days event, a 1 day event. Can hear me.
here we go. Sorry, Elena, I don't know if you were saying something. I had the music and no.
No, I just say that we can't hear the music, but
Okay.
it was just, but now you see that you have already the answer.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. So you could see more or less the key moments of the on-site part of the Gen Z Lab, which did not start yet. It started essentially with 3 goals in mind, which is on the one hand, of course, we had our need of collecting qualitative consumer insight and know better the Gen Z, how do they conceive shopping in store and online. But also, obviously, we had different type of goals that we wanted to meet. The first one was about employer branding, so talent acquisition, but on the other side, obviously, organizing something meaningful for students across all Europe, so with more like a social responsibility vocation. Group of 36 students, as we said, coming from Paris, Milan, Florence, Manchester, and Madrid. And the pilot that we did, so with the project that we executed with Advance was potentially the first of a series of others that we can carry out with other brand of the VF portfolio. I would like now to share with you the timeline. No, I cannot see the slide. Okay, perfect. So here you've got the timeline of the activities that we carried out with the students. So after, of course, like the onboarding and the kickoff call that took place in April, then there were the first big moment where we started getting to know more about them and collecting insights was welcome survey. I will come to that and we'll show you on a list of insights that we collected through that. Then we invited the guys into carrying out a mystery shopping activity. So first we asked them to shop online on our websites, on our monobrand e-commerce, and then we gave them the chance also to visit our stores, the closest to them, to also collect like insights and learn more about the Vans brand and how it is executed across the marketplace. After this mystery shopping activity, we sent them another survey where we wanted to know more about the shopping experience, both online and in store. And then this is pretty much what you have seen in the video that I've just shared. there was 2 days, a day and a half of workshop that we carried out on site in Stabio. So on day one, the students met the leadership team at Vans, got an understanding of the brand, and then they started brainstorming ideas divided into mixed groups to achieve and to try to tackle what ultimately was our key challenge that you can see at the bottom of the timeline, which was essentially asking them to design how an ideal omni-channel consumer experience would look like for them. So through the Gen Z point of view. As I've anticipated, I would like now to delve into the welcome survey and then the shopping experience survey to give you an idea of what we have collected through that and how that was insightful and useful. At the beginning, the welcome survey was focused on 3 topics, essentially. So general attitudes of the students, fashion attitudes specifically, and Vans awareness. So it was very much an intro for us to get to know more about them, understand what their level of preparation was, how they felt about the project, for us then to shape the second and third stage of the project, so the shopping experience survey and the on-site workshops. The students were all attending fashion universities, so they considered themselves like very, very skilled into that field. And then we understood that obviously social media was more than a habit, but really like their daily life, essentially. And we could also validate the fact that they were all very aware of the Vans brand, what that represents, and many of them also were active consumers. One of the key aspects and assumptions that we had was, because obviously what we are doing today at Vans is trying to execute e-commerce and digital commerce in the best possible way today, but also is to prepare for what's coming up tomorrow. So obviously there's now a TikTok shop, there's marketplaces like Zalando, so we cannot afford to take for granted that every person that is willing to buy a Vans product will do that on our website. So we need to prepare for that. And one of the biggest things that we wanted to validate was that. So how is Gen Z building up their own perspectives on that? Do they want to shop more on marketplaces, or do they still rely on monobrand websites? Do they use mobile applications more than they use mobile websites? And so this is also one of the key aspects that we wanted to tackle from start. So to try and see where would they shop, why would they prefer one versus the others, and we can see some of the insights that we collect, some verbatim from their survey, right? So obviously marketplaces are generally preferred because of the variety of the products and the convenience, whereas monobrand are more like tailored, specific, and they're not as confusing, or there's not too much choice as we find in the other. Second step, as I said, was focusing on the mystery shopping activity. So what they did was we gave them a promo code for purchasing products online, and we gave them a promo code to also visit a store. And each student would have to complete both tasks, online and offline. We can interestingly see that almost 50% of the students that visited our stores considered the store not extremely appealing because they were considered as too dark, low assortment. So we really appreciated the fact that they were very transparent and straightforward with us. So there was not that risk of that we saw in Lorenzo's presentation of the audience being too kind or too nice, but they really shared with us straight feedback. They shared with us that, for example, design and color of a product are normally the elements that drive their purchasing decision the most. And then for social media, we see that there is a slightly lower influence that is played by social media into shaping the purchasing decision that we instead could see online. Online, generally, we got positive feedback on the website. Everything was pretty easy for them to carry out in terms of the tasks that we asked. But we saw that even here, we could identify potential work to be done on our end. First of all, there was this point about editorial content that the students were suggesting for us to develop more, to refine more, to craft better, and to bring to life through our website something that is more similar to a blog than it is a more, say, like cold or conversion-focused marketplace. Second aspect was about the website layout. That is something that we had to improve, and we took that very seriously. In fact, March last year, so a few months after the project, we also went live with a replatforming and website redesign, which also took into account some of the points that we collected through the session, and a more seamless interaction between social media and our e-com platform. As you can see, then we had other points that we could cluster around pricing, advertising, customer service, because we also asked the students to not only complete a purchase, but also interact with our support channels. And then the workshop. So I've more or less explained already what the agenda was about, but the guys really worked together to come up with potential solutions that could really shape an effective and engaging customer journey that was also omnichannel. And I decided to select a few of them just to give you an idea that the presentations were very diverse among each other. Some of them were more focused on finding a new product concept or recommending a new capsule collaboration, for example, with real partners and real contributors, stylists, artists. We can see, for example, here the example of a tattoo artist, real one that they found was very much on brand. And off the back of that, not only they suggested the capsule, they were also shaping a customer journey that was giving us more of an idea of the end-to-end and how the retail world will connect with the online. The most important thing that we can say, though, is that we used and we took advantage of this initiative not really because there was giving us learning that we wouldn't have before. So this was, as I said already, like a good chance for us to meet them, to have them here, like in our offices, ask them questions and try to potentially validate some opinions or assumptions that we already had in our mind. So it was not co-creation and co-design with the deliberate idea of getting completely brand new idea that we would never had. I mean, why not? We were very open-minded in facing that, and that was one of the goals. But even if not, the most important thing for us was to really have them conversating with us, having a conversation with our senior leadership team to ask questions and to really understand it. And I think this is extremely powerful. In the same way, you could have quantitative data for you to back up your decisions, your choices, and so on. But also having this sort of direct interaction can really change the strategy and the attitude of a company like ours. So I called out a couple of them: new product, new collaboration, and then this was an idea for like a gift to make the post-purchase experience more enjoyable, and then a new version of the online experience that was more editorial. To close off, this is maybe something that we can take for granted, but we decided to also give visibility of that. The feedback was extremely positive by the users, by the students. So they really enjoyed the experience, and the aspect that I wanted to raise is that it was something that was a win-win situation. We were extremely happy with and the insights that we collected were extremely valuable. But on the other end, we saw active participation and the students being really happy and open-minded, and as I said, like, extremely straightforward in sharing all their opinions and insights. Elena, I would say this is it. I don't know if there is anything specific that we need to cover or we want to call out from.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you very much for sharing the experience that you had. So let me immediately share again my screen so you can also see our contact here if you're interested to discuss with us later on. But we do have still some minutes for a Q&A. Maybe if we have someone online that would like to ask questions. We'll see who would like to break the ice. A couple of seconds to formulate some curiosity, doubt. Not sure if, Daniele, if you have some follow-up questions, maybe related to the radical incremental innovation. Let's see.
Yes. Thank you, Elena.
Otherwise, we have already some questions here.
Yes. If you have some questions already there, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Maybe it's a discussion that I would like to ask also Janine and connect with what Giacomo also present now. So I think, Giacomo, what you have presented is very interesting because we discussed the concept of discovery and behavioral testing. And I think here, Janine, we see the concept of circularity. So it's true, Giacomo, he had the chance to meet the community, deep dive into specific assumption, and then Janine, what we expected later on, and then we will see if Giacomo is going to proceed with our expectation. Yeah, Janine.
Exactly. Yes, it's a very nice experience what you created, Giacomo, actually, because with this big program in Vans, you captured both the discovery part, but also the behavioral testing part. You learned a lot about your audience. You started with the assumptions that you already had in mind. You tested them, you learned, and indeed you tested also behavior. So really compliments for that. But I just wanted also to ask you, did you learn something completely new? Did you add anything to your existing assumptions?
Yes, as I said, I think that beyond all the ideas, and I shared some at the end, more to give you an idea of what was the final outcome that we could collect. It was very much about the conversations that we had with the students, not just during the brainstorming or with the presentation, but the students were on site. So lunch break, they had moments for us to do Q&A. So I think the initiative that I presented was very well structured, but probably the most interesting insights really came beyond that structure, if you see what I mean. So it went beyond the fact that for X time they had to perform together and we were there at the table, but it was very much about us getting to know them, getting to know the attitude, what do they feel about the brand, because I think that in some cases you need the quantitative data, you need the reports, you need the surveys, you need that. In some others, that was probably our case, it was very much about learning how do they feel about our products, how do they feel about the brand, which is maybe something that you cannot really capture via a survey in some cases, but it's more about getting to know your users better, because it's not something that we spend 365 days a year thinking about our brand and how to be better, but rarely we do that with that clarity of who ultimately our customers are. Knowing the attitudes, as I said, what they like, what they struggle with, what they dislike. So I think the answer is yes, and it goes well beyond. Yes, we learned a lot and well beyond the ideas, the projects, and all that.
I do have, thank you, Giacomo. I do have a final reflection from what you and also Lorenzo presented today. Because it is true that we understood, hopefully, within the desirability concept, the value of the discovery part and the behavioral part. I think in both of your cases, we understood that we need to have facilitators. We need to have, in a way, experts that will help you to set up this testing. If it is true that we have an online tool, anyhow, we need someone that will help us to setting up the test. And at the same time with you, Giacomo, even if we have just few days for running a proper testing, we need to have facilitators, someone with a proper, let's say, empathy and knowledge to meet and welcome, let's say, a community. So let's say that even if we have, let's say, limited time, and we have tools, digital tools, in presence methodology, there is a sort of other aspect that we have to consider. So also the skills in order to run this kind of test. So, and I think it was very interesting and beautiful to see the development of this kind of experiences. Not sure, Jenny, if you want to add something else, or Lorenzo. I'll let you your last round of comment, and then I'll let you all go. So, Janine, do you want to say your last word before to leave? Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much, Elena. And yes, thank you everyone for being here. I just wanted maybe just to throw this to Lorenzo, something that I wanted to, reflect a little bit in the last minute. It's about AI, right? So since AI came into our industry, right, Lorenzo, it disrupted indeed, and we started to ask ourselves as researchers, designers, innovation managers, we started to ask ourselves if this is the tool, if this tool actually takes everything, takes all our work, and is it still needed to actually test with real users? So just some comments from your side on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janine.
Lorenzo, if you want to say your last words.
Yeah, just answering to Janine, I have to say that we are using a lot artificial intelligence, but to give superpowers to humans, just to speed up what we were doing slower, and now we can do things much more better, faster, with the same human approach. So I still think it's extremely important to talk to real people, not only synthetic users. It's okay also that, but if you want to invest real money, I still think it's better to talk with a real person. Still, with artificial intelligence is easier. Thank you, Janine, and thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Before to pass the word to Daniele, Giacomo, if you want to say your last comment.
No, I mean, just building on what everyone said, we have seen two very different tools today, ways of validating ideas. What I wanted to say is just, I think every moment, every stage of a company, of a year requires different type of tools. So, for example, in our context, there are moments when we lean more towards something closer to what Lorenzo shared. But the reason and why we wanted to bring it up today and to talk about the Gen Z Lab is to give an example that was very far from like his world, to give the audience like a better understanding and expand the toolkit as much as possible. As you said, yes, what maybe I haven't called out properly is the complexity of the organization of something like that. So I'm extremely grateful to VF and to LTCC, Dagorà, etc. that worked on the background to make it happen. But of course, it's not easy. Like liaising with universities, engaging and onboarding the students, organizing the on-site, blocking the agenda of the senior leaders. So I feel privileged in that sense. But in the end, it was something new and extremely insightful in the end. So I think the effort that we all had to put into that really came back in the end. Though, as we said, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of approach. It's not that this tool, this Gen Z Lab would work anyway for any type of assumption. So in this case, for us, this is what we needed.
but it was inspirational and I guess could be adapted to the different ideas and stage of the companies. Okay, Daniele, thank you also from my side, and hope to see you digitally or in presence in another moment. Daniele, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena. Thank you also to Janine, to Lorenzo and Giacomo, and also from our side to Michele and Letizia that work on the organization of the training. But before you go, I kindly ask you if you can scan the following QR code and reply to our survey, which is mandatory for us towards InnoSwiss to gather your impressions in our initiative. So it would be very useful. It takes only a couple of minutes, and then I think we can wrap up the training for today. And also, yes, we hope that we deep dive into a very important but detailed part of the program. And as said, if you wish to join, please reach out to us. Thank you. I let you scan the code. Okay, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you again, all, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.